Hi guys, hope you're doing well. Today I want to talk to you about reframing our thought. One of the interesting things that I learned about thinking is that there's a statistic that according to research that says that 95% of our thinking are the same today as it was yesterday and the day before and the day before. So we have, as human beings, the tendency to think about exactly the same way as we thought yesterday and in the past. Another statistic that is interesting to know is that for the majority of the people, 80% of our thinking, okay, so we think about 50,000 times to 60,000 times a day, and 80% of those thoughts are negative. And as you know, when I explain to you the mental conditioning, internal dialogue or the way we think do influence the way we feel, and it does influence the way we react or the way we act. So if 80% of our thinking, and on top of that, the same 80% thinking is repeated day after day, day after day, day after day, it makes sense that that's the reason why people are so in search of feeling happy and they are not feeling happy. They continue to feel worried, to feel anxious, to feel fearful, to feel discouraged, frustrated, and stressed. Why? Mainly because of the way we think. So when I learned that, actually, I didn't believe it at first. I said, no, maybe it's this is true for everybody else but me. So I read in a book that to try this exercise just to become aware if it is true for you. So the exercise is take some moment during the day, because you cannot control all those 60,000 thoughts. You can't control that. But you can take some moment during the day where you don't listen to TV, you have no music, you're just by yourself. Okay, it can be, I do that when I do my hair basically, or I do my makeup. In the morning, there's no music, there's no noise, I'm just with myself and I'm just listening to what's going on in my head. And when I did, and you can do that you can do that when you're driving. Make sure that you don't have anything else, because you're gonna get influenced by what is said, like on a radio or whatever. So you just want to be with yourself and you just take some moment to listen to what's going on in your head. And then calculate on your head how many times that the phrase, that the thought that came out was negative. If you can, obviously when you drive you cannot, but if you can, take the time to write your phrase, write your thought. And ask yourself, if I'm thinking this, how do I feel? Does this, saying that to me, like for example, if I would wake up this morning and say, okay, so today I'm going to do some videos, but I just hope that I'm not going to have to redo the same video like 20 times. I hope that I'm going to be good. I hope that people will like it. I hope that I'm not going to forget about this and forget about that. So if I would to say that to myself, how would I feel about myself, about those thinking? Would I feel good, encouraged, passionate, empowered, positive and confident? Or would I feel doubtful, maybe powerless, maybe discouraged, maybe not confident? If the thinking process makes you feel in a negative state, it means that it's negative. So it's kind of difficult to have a positive thinking in a negative state. It goes together. You have negative thinking, negative state. Positive thinking, positive state. So if it's true that we have 80% of our thinking that are negative, it makes sense that 80% of our feelings are negative. And if on top of that 95% is repeated day after day, day after day, well, that's the reason why so many people continuously live in unhappiness. So if you're looking for happiness, you're looking for well-being, you're looking for peace of mind, you're looking for inspiration, you're looking for encouragement, you're looking for drive, it is very, very, very important to change, to reframe our thinking. How can we do that? Absolutely, we can do that. Because neuroscience, again, demonstrated that there's a part of our brain, there's a characteristic of our brain called neuroplasticity that allow us to develop new neural pathways. And because I experienced this, because when I learned that, I wanted to change the way I was thinking. Definitely, I wanted to do that because I didn't want to live in fear for the rest of my life. So I did it. And today, it's kind of well, it's not impossible, but it's really, really difficult for me to think negatively. Before, it just came out like this automatically. Now, I have really to think about that. So anytime, any situation, it doesn't mean that when you change the way you think that nothing negative will happen in your life. We can't control what happened in our life. But the difference that it makes for me right now is that whenever something negative happens in my life that I cannot control, I can control the way I see it, the way I perceive it, what I say to myself, and how I feel about it. So obviously, it will change the way I react and the way I act. Think about that. Imagine that for a second. If it's true that the majority of people, 80% of their thinking is negative, so 80% of their feeling is negative because it goes together. In a team, if the majority of the people have that statistic, so it means that 80%, or maybe the majority of people have 80% of their thinking are negative. How possible is it to create a positive atmosphere if we stay in that thinking process? Impossible. So that's the reason why I encourage people to be aware of this, be aware of their thinking, because what is going on in your head, this is what comes out. So if you are critical about yourself all the time in your head, this is what you discover, that I'm really, really critical about myself. The way I talk to myself is really not encouraging. On the contrary, I always think that I will not achieve it. It's impossible. I can't do that. It's impossible for me. Well, obviously, what will come out of your mouth will probably be more critical for the people around you. Because what comes out, what's in there. You cannot say what you don't think. You have to think before it comes out. So that's the reason why I encourage people to be aware of this and to reframe their thinking. So how do we do that? Well, the first thing that I did actually is I bought a lot of books, and this is an awesome book. I think it's called The Secret, Daily Secret, I think it's called in English, because you can have this book in English. And it's basically like a small paragraph. Every day I would read one, like you see, it's really, really small. And it's a positive thinking. It's a quote, basically. That's what it is. It's a new way of thinking positively. And so basically the reconditioning, we have to change the phrase, that we have to change the phrase and the way we think, so the way we talk to ourselves. And in order to change that, we need to actually read some new, like input new data, because otherwise it's the same old data that are coming forth all the time. Another thing that I did actually is that I wrote a lot of, those are the cards that I used to write phrases, that I used to write quotes, that I used to write on false belief that I wanted to change. So by writing and by reading it on a regular basis, that's one way to recondition your brain, your way of thinking. The other way as well to do that is when you do the exercise and you write it, you write your sentence and it's negative. So let's say that I hope that it's not going to take me like 10 times to be able to do a video today. So this is kind of negative, because yes, there's the word hope, but it has a negative connotation. There's a doubt in there. So instead of using I hope, or instead of when you want to change that negative sentence, you want to use the word I intend. So I intend to be very efficient in my video today. I intend to be very confident during my video process today. I intend to, and then you continue your phrase. What is it that you would like to feel and to be and to act and to think? When you say I intend, it helps you. It helps your brain to accept this new suggestion a little bit more easier than if you just say to yourself, I can. It's possible. It's possible. It's possible. It's possible. So instead of going right away to the positive way, I intend, it makes it more acceptable for your brain when you start. So writing, reading, I intend, and there's all kinds of, I created those cards, but unfortunately they are in French, not in English. But this is 54 phrase quote, if you like, to enhance self-esteem. So you can find those cards or type of cards. That's another way. This is a fun way to reframe our brain, like to recondition our brain in a positive way. So it takes time, absolutely. It's not going to happen overnight. For any new habit, it takes up to 45 to 90 days before neurosurgeon can actually see new neural pathways form. So we have to keep ourselves accountable. So what do we do? How do we do that in a setup of teamwork? Is that when we commit to improve and reframe our thinking, so we can commit to that. And then when we observe ourselves to be in a negative path, in a negative thinking, like we are talking about the problem and reliving the problem over and over and over again, and we've been talking about the problem for 15, 20, 30 minutes, and it seems that we're going nowhere. It's just argumentation, confrontation, and we just remold in the same thinking. Then somebody can say, hey guys, remember, we committed to reframe our thinking. Now we are in a negative process. We feel stuck. So we have to open our mind and look at possibilities, and we need to look at options, and we look at different ways of looking at the problem. So we can start, we intend to find a solution. We intend to look at it in a different way. We intend to do something different. We intend to find something different. So that's one way that we can reframe a conversation that has a mainly connotation, negative connotation. And then just by doing that, you will feel the energy change just like that. Make sense? So I let you experience it, and I'll see you next time.